So for the bike technique, what you want to do is pretend that one side of the angle is the ground. Next, imagine that the other side of the angle is a hill. Finally, imagine that you are looking at this hill and trying to decide if it would be safe to ride your bike down it. So for acute angles, the safest hill to ride down would be the smallest angle. This is because the slope is not as steep. However, a steep slope, larger angle, would be scarier to ride down. So make sure you are riding down the outside part of acute angles and not the inside. Now imagine the bikes on the slopes and try to figure out which one is the largest and smallest angle. Pause the video now. Using the technique, you should have gotten the answer B, and you would have seen that number 2 was the most steep angle, so that was the largest, and that 4 was not as steep as the rest of the angles, so that was the smallest angle. So just referring back to the bike, remember, if it's a dangerous hill, then it's going to be a larger angle. However, if it's a less steep hill, then it will be a smaller angle. So here is another acute angle problem. What you want to do is place the bike on the outside of these acute angles and then find out which hill is the most steep, which hill is the least steep, and then figure out the angles. So pause the video now and take some time to look at these angles. So this problem was a little tricky because angle 4 was an obtuse angle while angle 1 through 3 were acute angles. But if you use the bike technique correctly, you should have seen angle 1 was the smallest, angle 2 was the second smallest, and angle 3 was the third smallest. And you should have gotten the angle was D and should have just seen that angle 4 was obtuse. So I'm done with any more tricky problems. So now we're moving to obtuse angles, and you want to put the bike on the inside of the hill for these problems. So for obtuse angles, the more steep a hill is, the smaller the angle is, and the less steep the hill is, the larger the angle is for obtuse angle problems. So imagine the bike on the inside of the hill for these obtuse angle problems. Now pause the video and solve this. So if you use the method correctly, you should have seen that angle 3 was the safest hill to ride down, so therefore it is the largest obtuse angle, while angle 2 was the most steep, most dangerous hill to ride on, so that was the smallest angle. You have to remember that it switches for obtuse problems and acute problems. So this is our final practice problem for obtuse angles. So you can use the bike technique still for this problem, or you can use something I like to call the laptop technique. And what you do is imagine one side of the obtuse angle is the keyboard and the other side is the screen, and imagine which laptop is open the most wide, and that would be your largest obtuse angle. Now take a minute to visualize the laptop technique and the bike technique. Now pause the video and solve it. So the largest angle was angle 4, so that would be the least steep hill or the laptop that's the most wide open, and angle 3 would have been the most steep hill or the laptop that's the least open. So you should have gotten the answer was C. Message us on our Facebook page at becomingdrtj to become the next pre-dental or dental student of the month. Our last year winners, they received a $35 Amazon gift card and also a surprise gift, which you can see in the attached video.